What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Endless Endeavor Podcast, episode 229 coming at you. And before we start the show, like we say every week, a couple things that I would really appreciate. Sharing the show. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it on social media, and then also rate the show. Whatever platform you consume Endless Endeavor on, please go there, give it a 5-star review. If you want to give it a 1-star, just disregard this altogether. But rating the show helps it grow and helps get it out on the platforms. All right, guys, we have a couple ads to knock out, and we will start the show momentarily. We are first brought to you by Timeline Nutrition MitoPeer. And what MitoPeer is, it is a mitochondria enhancer and revitalizer. MitoPeer uses a peptide called urolithin A. And urolithin A is derived from pomegranates. But you would have to drink 5 glasses of pomegranate juice to get the amount of urolithin A that you get inside of 1 serving of MitoPeer. They have both grab-and-go packets that you add to water, and they also have capsules. Urolithin A in both human and animal studies has shown to cause mitophagy. And what mitophagy is, it is your body recycling dysfunctional mitochondria and producing new, healthy, vibrant mitochondria. As you guys know, mitochondria is the power source of our cells, and every single thing we do in life requires mitochondria. So the more we have, the better. And after the age of 40, we start to have a certain percentage of dysfunctional mitochondria, and it progresses as we age. So what MitoPeer is, it is an anti-aging supplement to help us stay young, vibrant, fit, and active. As you guys know, I do not partner with companies unless I feel a personal benefit. What I've noticed is when I do take MitoPeer, when I wake up in the morning, I feel more rejuvenated, more ready to attack the day, and I feel like I have more energy right from the go. And for me, I'm sold on that. If you would like to try Timeline Nutrition MitoPeer, go to timelinenutrition.com. Coupon code Endless Endeavor will save 10% off of your first purchase. Next, we are brought to you by Element, and that is spelled LMNT. And what Element is, it is a single-time use, grab-and-go hydration packet that you add to a bottle of water. Each packet contains 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. And these are created to be used during or after rigorous physical activities. So let me unpack what that means, guys. When you were training hard, when you were doing jiu-jitsu, when you were doing any type of high-intensity exercise where you are sweating a ton, you are depleting yourself of your electrolytes. Hydration is not just about drinking an adequate amount of water. Hydration is about drinking an adequate amount of water and consuming an adequate amount of electrolytes. And if you do not have the right ratio of fluid to electrolytes, that can lead to cramping and all kinds of different performance problems. And that is where Element has knocked it out of the park. I drink one before practice, even though they are marketed for during or after, just to get ahead of the curve a little bit. And what I find is I cramp way less during practice. When I hit the mats dehydrated, it's a problem. And Element has really helped me get ahead of that. Element is created by Rob Wolf. He's a biochemist. He's a super intelligent guy, and he is also a jiu-jitsu athlete. I believe he's still a brown belt, and he trains out in Montana with Andy Stumpf. Really knowledgeable guy, and came up with something that really helps athletes. So guys, if you would like to try Element, go to drinklmnt.com/endless endeavor. That is this show's landing page, and if you go to that page, this is how it works. You pick out what you would like to try, and in addition to anything you purchase, you will get a free sample pack. That sample variety pack has all of their different flavors. That way you can find out what you like, what you don't like, and adjust your order accordingly in the future. drinklmnt.com/endless endeavor, or just swipe up and there is a direct link in the show notes below. And lastly, we are brought to you by BioPro Plus, and BioPro is the faster, easier, safer, non-synthetic alternative to HGH treatments. Again, let's unpack this, guys. BioPro is a combination of growth factors. Typically, you would get these growth factors from your body's own natural production of HGH, or if you were to use a synthetic HGH. It gets secreted in the pituitary gland, goes into your liver, and that is where the growth factors are created, and they go out into the bloodstream as the cellular signal to optimize performance in your metabolism, muscle development, insulin sensitivity, libido, and sexual performance, the density of your bones, the health of your skin and hair, so much more. I find the most beneficial aspect of BioPro being the capacity to heal substantially faster from both injuries and really hard, rigorous workouts. I don't stay on BioPro constantly. I like to cycle it or specifically use it when I get injured or when I'm just feeling under the weather. I recently started a month of it because my knees have been aching, and guys, it's nuts because within 1 week of being on BioPro, the aches and pains that I've been feeling in my knees are probably 50% better. They're not gone, but I'm also a 44-year-old jiu-jitsu athlete and former Army Ranger that used to jump out of airplanes and helicopters, and my body's kind of a mess. But what I find is anytime I'm under the weather or feeling injured, I get on BioPro, and it seems to alleviate the pain and heal me in a capacity that nothing else really has. And this isn't just my opinion. Go check out the reviews online. Check out the athletes that are using it. It's taken the jiu-jitsu and MMA community by storm, and there's a reason behind that. So if you're interested in trying BioPro, go to bioproteintech.com, and coupon code ENDLESS will save you 10% off your entire order there as well. And guys, all of the sponsors we discussed in today's ads are in the show notes below. Swipe up, check those out, and if you use those products, I promise you, you will not be disappointed. All right, ads are out of the way. In episode 229, we recap 2024 deer season in Readstown, Wisconsin. This is our third season out there, and hands down, our best hunt yet. Chad Depauw, who owns the land that we hunt on, has really been an exceptional mentor to teaching Zach and me the ins and outs of archery hunting. He's also a great human being and just holds tons of wisdom regarding so many aspects of life. I always love sitting down and recording our deer camp episodes at the conclusion of our hunts. Please enjoy episode 229 of the Endless Endeavor podcast. Yeah, you know, I was sitting there, and it was our last day, and we have hunted 4 days in a row, pretty hard. Mm-hmm. And we harvested 3 deer the previous 3 days, and I was sitting in that stand, and I was like, dude, I had a pretty bad hunt for my first deer. I mean, I shouldn't say bad. It was successful, but I wounded the animal. It was a long track. It took 3 arrows. He was hurt. I felt bad about it. Then I had to carry that deer out of the ravine. And it was just not the ideal circumstances of how you want your bow hunt to go. Mm-hmm. And then Zach had a good kill. Mm-hmm. And then and we'll go into this because I know people want to hear details of it.
We're just testing the equipment.
But the last night's kill was like a picture perfect archery hunt for me. And I got a buck. I shot it. It died within 30 yards of where I shot it. And everything just felt right. And we had a whole bunch of meat to process, and I knew we had a day's work ahead of us. And I just thought, do I want to end on that note, or do I just want to go back out and try and get more meat? And what would that look like? Mm-hmm. And I was sitting there thinking, and it was also freezing ass cold, so that the inner bitch voice may have had a little bit of influence.
And you knew I was down here in my.
I did not know if you were in stand or not.
You had an inclination that I was in the cabin doing chores.
And I was like, you know what, dude? I want to end on a high note. I don't want to have the potential of a bad shot. Because remember last year, I ended on a bad shot.
Yeah, that was the end of your trip.
And we tracked a doe for 2 hours.
Ish. Yeah. Probably more.
And then had to call it because we lost the trail. And like, I left, don't get me wrong, I left deer camp happy because spending time with you guys is always fucking awesome.
Right.
But I wanted to leave on the high. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go down, I'm going to drink coffee, and then we're going to get to work. And we had to skin and butcher and debone and vacuum pack and do all that. And it's funny because it's what, 5:30 right now?
It is 5:35.
That was a whole day's
October
work.
27th, yep.
And if we had another deer or two.
Ooh, you're another 2 hours, hour and a half of processing. And
like per deer, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think so. I mean, plus all the other camp chores that have to get done and all the other things that are going on. So
I think it worked the way that it worked perfectly.
Yeah. But it struck me when you came down and you sat in that chair that you're in right now and you were like, you were calm, like you weren't amped up, or you just seemed resolved, that it was like you were good in your head, that everything happened in the way you wanted it to happen for the trip, and you kind of like accomplished the goals and had a good time. But I could just sense from you that you were good with all of it. And it was interesting because Slavi had said to me after you guys went up this morning, we sat and chatted for a little bit, and he's like, man, I mean, I hope these guys are having fun, and I hope that they're like getting out of it everything they want to get out of it. He goes, but I don't know if they're content. And then before you even like had to say anything or we talked to you about it, like you came in and you said you were. So that's what struck me, because Steve and I were talking about it when you guys took off up the ridge and you went down. Where'd you go? You went both.
Yeah,
went
we
up top,
both went up together.
Yeah. But anyway, I just thought it was cool, man, because like you always wonder as a host what your hunters are thinking and how you're taking in the experience and all that. Like, are they having a good time? Are they happy? Are they happy with what they've seen, what they've shot?
Of course.
So yeah, man, like to hear that out of both of you guys. You both said it. Actually, Zach, you said it last night, and then you said it this morning. So I thought that was just a really pretty neat little cap on.
Well, and I'll say this.
Day 4?
Day 4, yeah. I'll say this, man. Like, obviously you invest time and finances and coordinate these trips with your friends, and like we want to harvest an animal, and everybody wants the big buck, and we want to bring home meat and all that stuff, right? That's obviously the goal. But I promise you, if I come out here and don't shoot one deer, I'm still grateful for the experience, and I'm glad I came out here.
Right.
Because half of this trip is about learning to hunt. The other half is nurturing the friendship between me and Zach and you and Slavi. Because you guys hang out a lot, me and Zach hang out a lot, but the 4 of us getting together has become a pretty special experience.
For sure, man.
And
for sure.
I look forward to that as much as the hunt, it's literally like anything in life that you do. It's like the experience itself is worth so much, but it's so much greater if you're sharing it with the right people.
Yep.
And the universe just aligned us. And
sure.
So for people, I assume listeners listen to every single episode, right?
Every one.
Yeah. But for people that haven't listened to our deer camp episodes, we come out here, we spend 1 week in Readstown, Wisconsin, in the usually the last week of October, and it's the 4 of us in your cabin out here on an 80-acre plot of land. Mm-hmm. You have 10 different stands strategically set up across the property.
I'd say about that, yeah.
And then we all just kind of game plan what the day is going to look like. I'll take this, I'll go high, you'll go low, and we just kind of figure out what the day is going to look like, and we go out there and execute. And it's been a really interesting experience because, we met at a wedding and we started talking about hunting, which I knew nothing about at the time. And you said, hey, you want to learn to hunt? I got the spot, and I'll show you the ropes. You and Zach can come out and stay as long as you need, and we'll get you dialed in. And I jumped at that opportunity. And the reason that I think that, I know I've told that on the other episodes at Deer Camp, but I think
this is year 3.
Year 3.
And it's 2021.
It's an important point to bring up because opportunities get provided to us randomly throughout our life more often than most people think. Like, how many times has someone been just standing at a wedding being like, hey, if you want to go hunting, I'd love to go out there and chase some deer with you. Like, that's an easy thing to say
honestly,
over a glass of whiskey.
A lot of people say that.
That's what I'm saying.
But, like, I've had people talk about that with me at other engagements, and I'm like, yeah, we don't really do that.
Do you remember what I said to you as soon as you said that to me?
What, about coming out?
Yeah.
All I really remember, and replaying this story because it's such a great story, was I heard my name when you 3 gentlemen were talking by the fire, and the only thing that really impressed upon me was you just like turning your shoulders broadside and squaring up within about 8 inches of my face. And you're like, bro, I want to hunt.
Well, that kind of makes me sound like I was being a dick, dude. I wasn't trying to intimidate you into taking me out or anything.
Well, you did.
Well, and I think this is a cool thing to bring up too, is that we're at a
Zach and I have been talking about you behind your back the whole week too, about your intensity. We're going to try to help you with your intensity. Right, Z?
We were at a very small wedding, and the guy getting married was my team leader in Iraq. And I've referenced him on the podcast lots of times. He's one of the best men that I know. He's the best leader I've ever worked for. And I don't say this to sound dramatic. I think I'm alive today because of his leadership.
For sure.
Because we were in Ramadi 04 and 05, and it was a gnarly time to be in that city. And Rancher just had the understanding that you had to be default aggressive. We didn't really play by the rules. We played by what was necessary to keep us alive. And he keeps a tight circle. And so when I showed up to that wedding, how many people were there? Maybe 35 or something? Wasn't big.
Yeah, maybe
less than that,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But I was like, if Rancher's inviting people here, they're already vetted. He's the best man that I know. There's not going to be anyone at his wedding that I have to, like...
Would you like to come to my cabin in the woods? And
yeah, exactly.
I've got knives and stuff.
And so we both joked about that after the fact. Like, we didn't have to feel each other out because we already knew each other was vetted.
Yeah.
And so sure as shit, I was talking to Walt and Rancher about hunting, and they're like, "Oh, you want to learn to hunt? That's your man right behind you."
Right. That's what. And then you like when I heard Depauw and they put you on my 6, and then you just squared up on me, and I'm like, "All right, we're talking hunting," and you're like, "I want to learn to hunt." I'm like, "Cool. What do you?" I said, "What do you want to hunt?" And you said, "Deer or big game."
Yeah, and I said I wanted to be an archer. I wanted to bow hunt.
Mm-hmm.
I want to learn to hunt big game. And you said I got the spot.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's something you want to do, we can make it happen. And I said, bro,
you serious?
I know we met fucking 42 seconds ago, but if you're serious, I'm ready to book it right now.
Yeah.
Let's get it on the calendar and let's just make it happen. And like
that was March of 2021, I believe.
And then I came out here on an unrelated trip to Vortex.
That's right.
And got to kick it with you one more time and just get to know you a little better.
Which honestly, I think that was even like more perfect than that was I should say that was great English by the way. Wasn't that good grammar? It was almost like that episode with you and Lappin coming out to Vortex and then getting set up at Jeff's place was meant to be to then come to the hunt because it totally afforded us an opportunity to follow up on the wedding and then spend some more time and I guess not totally get to know each other, but it was really I thought it was a good piece of time spent kind of hanging out and getting it in vetting a little further.
It was also an integral part of the journey because you literally said to me, hey, if you're going to be out at Vortex, I got a buddy who owns Jeff's Performance Archery in Dodgeville, which is 15 minutes
Wisconsin.
From Vortex. It's like right down the street.
20, 25 at the most, yeah.
And he set me up with my first bow.
And Seamus knows Jeff.
And he got me all dialed in and had a bow in his shop that was a good fit for me. And I love that bow.
Yeah.
You know what's funny about that bow is I was just talking to Slobby about this morning. I really love that bow. And I started hunting with that bow and killed a couple deer with that bow. And then, for whatever reason, I was like, I think I'm ready to upgrade. And as soon as I upgraded, and because the one that Jeff sold me was a Hoyt RX-1. Mm-hmm. But still was a great bow.
Oh, yeah. Phenomenal piece of equipment.
This year I upgraded to the Hoyt RX-8 Ultra. And then as soon as I got it, I was like, dude, this isn't my bow. This is something... I'm gonna have to either me and this bow are gonna have to build a relationship,
definitely,
or if we don't, do I go back to my old bow? And when I told Slobby that, he goes, "It's funny you say that." He goes, "Because I grew up and shot a Matthews for years," and he goes, "I sold it and bought a new bow," and he goes, "To this day, I regret selling that Matthews."
Oh, yeah.
Because everybody wants the new latest and greatest, including me. Like the fucking new stuff is awesome, right? But if the old stuff is working, why are we called to new stuff? I'm not quite sure.
I think it becomes we're all marketed to very well by all these companies.
Yeah.
And the world we live in is a very in-your-face marketing world. So I think it's just fun to look at. You get into a hobby and it's just like, man, this is cool. That's a new toy, right?
Yeah.
You probably do that with your geese and all that stuff that you just...
You know, like I geeked out on geese for a long time. Yeah. I've calmed down.
Or headlamps, perhaps. Huh, Zach?
Headlamps?
Greg has a headlamp problem world.
Right now,
well, maybe not a problem.
No, it's definitely a problem. Right now, my two problems when it comes to purchasing things are headlamps and puffer jackets.
Oh, those are good things to have, though.
Dude, the Mountain Hardware Ghost puffer jacket, like... I want one in every color. And it's pretty unreasonable, but I probably got 10 of those things.
So like every color as in Monday through Friday, every color, or like 30, like one for every day of the month?
Well,
every color.
What I do,
you just roll out like a.
What I do is I
protocol.
I justify like I need these because.
Yeah.
And so those puffer jackets, they pack into their one of the pockets is a stow pocket.
Oh yeah.
And it zips closed, and then it's just like the size of a sandwich bag. And I clip them in carabiners in my 4Runner. So I probably have at any time 8 coats in the back of my 4Runner.
I mean, that makes sense.
And I can't tell you how many times, like, your mom and Jenny were at, like, well, we were at Rachel's wedding, for example.
Right.
And the sun goes down, and what are girls wearing at weddings? The fucking,
Dresses.
the skimpiest shit they can find. And then they're all freezing. And I was like, don't worry. I got
good.
y'all.
I am geared up for you ladies.
See, I like to have 10 coats on standby in case women or even men. A man can wear my coat.
For sure. I mean, if I feel like if I asked you to borrow your coat, you'd let me wear it.
Oh, where did that, dude? That's funny you say that. I literally had that happen. I'm going to blow. It's not a cool story because I can't remember the details. But one of my male friends asked me, and this was within the last couple months, like, dude, if you're cold, you can wear my jacket. I was like, dude, I will freeze to death and die
before I wear your jacket.
Before I ask another man for his coat to stay warm. So let's just get that straight right
Maybe
now.
you could have shared a sandwich and then shared coats at the same time.
But yeah, dude, we came out here on, you said it was 2021. I'm terrible at timelines. And we got that first hunt, or we got that first week of hunting in.
Yep.
And Zach harvested a buck on that trip.
Yep.
And you guys can go back.
Story.
You guys can go back and listen to Deer Camp 1 and Deer Camp 2. We came back last year, and the only thing all 4 of us harvested was I got that little button buck.
Yep.
Which brought home some meat. It brought home some experience. I shot it on the ground, which you guys were impressed by, right?
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's another little notch of experience in my belt of being an archer. This year, I would say for me personally, and we've also got a couple trips to Hawaii with Joshua, so it's like the experience is compounding. But I can honestly say, like, for the first time since I started this game, I would be comfortable going out in the woods by myself.
Yeah.
And
well, you kind of have all week.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily just mean the hunt part, because if we're being honest, the hunt part.
Zach's looking. We got deer.
There's deer over on the ridge right there. I can see them.
Can you? Let's look out the front door here.
Technically, you can go get your bow and harvest one more.
How are you seeing deer on the ridge?
Oh, I just saw them moving across.
Oh, they're
right there.
Cruising on the.
Yeah, they're right on the top of the ridge.
They are what Greg Anderson would call on the military.
The military crest?
The military crest, yes.
So they're not outlying themselves?
Oh, actually, they're going to the alfalfa field to the southwest of the porch of the cabin, like they did the other night when I was cooking you boys some dinner. That actually looks like a pretty good buck. Zach.
Yeah, I mean, if I can see it from here, it's got to be something like size.
Here comes another one. This is, okay, people. Readstown, there's a third one behind there. There's a little herd of 11. So, yeah, we're in a pretty nice little spot.
Yeah.
In southwest Wisconsin.
But what
on the ridge.
Dude, it's awesome.
Zach's
right?
losing his mind over there.
But here's the other thing, too. Because when you told me, you're like, bro, there's deer everywhere on my property. So I was like, oh, I guess we'll go out there and limit out. And it's like, yeah, so you think. And if we had rifles, we'd probably limit out every trip, right?
Possibly, but we can get into the nerdiness of that. Like let's shooting rifles versus bows, and
we'll do that next.
Noise and shooting and deer and how they react to all that. But
I think, and Zach, you can tell me if you agree with me or not. But I feel like the confidence that I gained from this trip changed me as a hunter. And not only the confidence of the aspect of hunting, but, you were very clear, as was Joshua, being a mentor of ours in the hunting game, is like, don't become one of those archers that just goes out, puts an arrow through a deer, and then drops it off at the butcher and drives home. It's like, that's not really embracing the experience of becoming a hunter. You need to learn how to skin your animal, gut your animal.
Maybe carry it on your shoulders out of a giant ridge, draw.
Well, since my first 2 deer were small, that was a feasible way of bringing the deer out. That buck last night, that wasn't happening.
Yeah, he was probably 160 probably about 150, 160 pound deer. Yeah.
And but now I feel, and don't get me wrong, we just butchered animals for the last 4 hours, and mine is not pretty, but I have an understanding of it.
I think it's fine.
Well, I know you think it's fine, but you know, I want to be.
You're too hypercritical of yourself. Plus, this is like the first or second time. Well, you butchered with Joshua and the boys out in Maui, but I mean, you did a deer with us last year that we butchered and processed. So you can't expect to jump on a jiu-jitsu mat as a white belt and know everything, and you can't expect to go over there to the butchering table and know how to
you're exactly
break it
right.
all down. It is an absolute journey of experience, and I started when I was 9.
There you go, dude.
Giving it to my dad and my uncles were like, here, trim this up. And if I screwed it up, I got my ass chewed out. It wasn't like, oh, honey, no, you do it this way. It's like, you're fucking it up. And then that's, you get kind of learning by that. Like Dana Anderson style.
Yeah, that's right, dude.
Yeah, bro. Bro, you're doing it wrong.
I kind of attribute it, or I compare everything to jiu-jitsu, right? If I train jiu-jitsu once a week or twice, or I should say 1 week a year or 2 weeks a year, I wouldn't retain anything. I'm someone that needs, I can get good at things, but I need lots of reps.
Repetition, yeah.
And so going hunting once or twice a year, it's hard for my brain
Dude,
to build
even
those
when
repetitions.
I do it every year, it takes me a couple strokes of the knife to get my brain back into the, the muscle memory and getting my head around like, okay, that's that muscle group, that's this muscle group. But what I think you're trying to articulate is that getting here the first time and then the third year up on the ridge in a stand, figuring out tree stand hunting, how whitetails move, wind direction, all the things that we've all been talking about at camp and with Slobby, and learning from Steve and learning from me and learning from each other and the experience that you gain out there, right?
Yeah.
Now you take that to your execution of harvesting and then taking that to the meat pole and the butchering table to really make sure, like the whole goal of why you squared up at me at the wedding was, how do I put that beautiful, wild, amazing game cleanly into my cooler that I can pull it out and share a meal with friends or family. That's the ultimate goal. And dude, like now you're at, like I was teasing you the other day on the video, you carrying it out. Like here comes the Greg Anderson, the black belt of jiu-jitsu. You are like, you're getting to purple belt level of bow hunting and whitetail hunting,
Yeah.
Because dude, like going out and shooting it, that just takes time and effort of attrition, right?
Yeah.
But all the other stuff, that's when you start to master like the domain of gutting and processing and butchering and making a product that's presentable to the table. And that's the ultimate goal that you've been after the whole freaking time, dude.
And dude,
and you're doing it right now. We did it today.
On day 1 out here, there were fucking deer everywhere.
Yep.
On day 1, I had deer in the food plot the whole time.
Is Zach gonna say anything, or is he just,
I'm pretty quiet. I usually I don't like talking too much. I like to take it all in, though.
And he says, since these mics, you hear your own voice. That's kind of weird for him. Mm-hmm. But I've been doing this for 4 years now, and I've grown to love my own voice.
I know. I'm in love with my voice. Hey, everybody, listen to how wonderful I sound.
But this is what this is where the growth happened on this trip,
dude. For sure.
I had a 6-pointer on day 1. And I took a shot at 35 yards, and it went right underneath him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of, I was a little disgruntled by that, because when I shoot at my range, I can keyhole 35 yards for the most part, right? Unless, every once in a while you pull one or have a bad shot. But statistically, a 35-yard shot should be a pretty easy shot for me. Well, that's on your range. When there's
get your flip flops on, your tank top, sunny day.
It's not time sensitive. It's there's
you haven't been sitting in the woods for 2 hours.
There's no pressure.
Yeah.
No one cares if you have a good hit or a bad hit, right? It's just like, it's a very different experience from training on my range to sitting 20 feet up a tree and actually taking a shot on a real animal. Mm-hmm. And what I realized over the course of the few days here is that, man, I was rushing those shots because I felt like, now's the time.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like,
we were talking about that.
Instead of like, settling in, making sure my bubble's level, really, really getting that pin where I want it to sit. And, you know, like, it's the same as shooting a rifle. When you pull the trigger, you know if it's a good shot or a bad shot without even having to check your work. Because if you apply the fundamentals of marksmanship correctly, your arrow or your bullet, it's going to go where you want it to go. But if you don't, then it doesn't. And those are all things that we've done enough reps that you kind of have an understanding the second that arrow gets released. And I knew that shot was a bad shot. Last night's shot on that buck, man, everything felt perfect. And it was because I had that bad shot. And then my second shot was low on the button buck on day 2. And I had to track it for 2 hours. And I ended up putting 3 arrows in that thing before I finally killed it. And that's also bow hunting. That happens, right?
Absolutely.
And in hindsight, it was a good experience to learn like a pretty comprehensive track. Bumped him a couple times. And then on the 3rd time, I bumped him again, and I shot him on the move because I was like, dude, I can't keep doing this. And thank God that arrow fucking hit and killed him.
I'll tell you, dude, just talking now in this forum, right? Like, there's so much going on during the week, and I was down here when that was all going on, and you guys called me, and I got the phone to work. But I was like, man, I need to get up there. But then I'm like, well, what the hell am I going to do? Those guys are already up there. They're on the track. They've done this with me before. It was a moment where, like, as a friend and a mentor to you, I'm like, I need to let Greg just go do this on his own.
Yeah.
You know, because by the time I would have gotten up there, and obviously I called the neighbor and we had that whole discussion about, you know,
going on to his,
property.
Property lines.
Yep, which is another good thing we've talked about on podcasting with you at this camp, is that just keeping up those neighborly relationships is huge for everything. Just essentially your neighborhood, your community, all that. But just when those moments come, when you have a deer across the fence line, or you want to ask for some permission to hunt some other species, if you don't have that relationship, your deer's gone. You're not getting that deer back. And ironically enough, I talked to Zeke that morning about the buck that Zach found in the valley and asked if his hunters had shot it. But nonetheless, the point you're trying to make, and I think what's amazing about what happened there was you and Zach were up there together. Zach pulled out to come. I don't remember why. What did you?
Well, I kind of came to the realization you did, where I was like, you know what? I'm not helping the situation. If anything, I'm adding more pressure to the animals that are.
That's right.
That are around, and I was like, you know what? There's nothing I'm doing that's beneficial here. I'm gonna pull out. Didn't want to fall on my
shoulder,
freshly cut up arm. You know.
I thought that was a good. I actually appreciate you doing that, Zach, because I mean, I am not under some misconception of the hierarchy of hunters here. Zach's a better hunter than I am.
Right.
He can read animals better than me, or like animal patterns. He can read wind. He can read the woods. He sees things. He's seen things in the woods since he was a 10-year-old boy. He'd be like, look at that grouse. And I'm like, what? Oh, shit, right? Like, I just know he's better in the woods. He's a better woodsman than I am.
Sure.
And so when he said, hey, 2 of us tracking an animal is going to put more pressure than 1 of us, and I think you should just finish this track. And I was like, roger that. And I
think that was smart.
It was cool, man, because we got to track together for a little bit. And then he came to that decision that's like, hey, I'm going to pull back and let you finish this track. So then I also got some solo experience, and then ultimately found the animal. And that was cool that I was able to do that. I was pretty proud of myself.
Yeah.
But the other side of that coin is like, you know, it didn't feel good watching that animal suffer. Like, dude, its leg was broken, and it was like, you could see it hobbling, but a hobbling deer is still 10 times as fast as a human being. And so that's why when we would bump him, he'd fucking be gone again, you know? And it was just like, it was kind of frustrating, but it's kind of sad at the same time.
Right.
Because Zach even said, he's like, if you don't find that deer, it's coyote food.
Right. Oh, without a doubt.
And that's, that's the
Truth.
end result.
That's truth.
That's the
I
end
probably
result.
shouldn't have said that because he probably went like, "Oh," in his head.
Let's go.
But that's the thing, though. That's why bow hunting is heavy, because if you make a bad shot,
I was just going to go there in my next thought.
Yeah,
dude.
that's going to be the outcome,
segueing.
right?
Yeah.
And
You're
even
getting an upfront seat to how, I guess it sears in your brain watching that happen. Like it pisses you off.
yeah,
And
that's
it
just
starts
not what we're
make you
supposed to
feel
be
like-
doing. I feel
no,
like
it's not. And it actually, you start to search yourself like, okay, like I definitely did something wrong here, and I need to complete this because that's my duty at this point, to take care of the situation and put this animal out of its misery.
yeah,
But that honed your blade as a bow hunter
for sure.
the next time you go sit in that stand, because you were like, I do not want to do that again.
Yep.
And if I do, I'm an asshole.
Well, and that's also, and this might sound weird to
Makes
people.
you shoot more. It makes you focus more. It makes you take a better shot, wait for the animal to come in and present a better
Yep.
shot, and be more patient. That's what it's all about, dude. And we talked about that
So then
before he came out.
when I finally found that deer, it was in the bottom of this fucking ravine. And I even said to myself, I was like, dude, you just put,
127.5 yards from the fence line, by the way. That's how far it was.
I was like, dude, I just put that animal through a lot of fucking pain.
Right, Zach?
Yep.
And now it's my turn to feel some fucking pain.
Yes,
And I'm
sir.
going to put that thing on my shoulders and carry it up the hill.
Do you remember what I said to you last year when we were down in that hole about the same spot with that doe?
Oh,
When we were sitting there under the stars and we had tracked and tracked and tracked.
you said a couple things, but I don't know. The one thing that you did say that I appreciate, that it stuck with me, you said, Greg, having a bad shot on an animal is part of being a bow hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do it long enough, you're going to experience this. So don't be down on yourself, because you can't be a bow hunter and not go through this from time to time.
Dude, even if you could kill 10 more deer like the deer you killed last night, and 5-7 years down the road, you're going to do it. That's going to happen to you again.
Yeah.
As a bow hunter.
And so that's just part of the
It's
process.
part of it. It sucks. It's the most horrible, awful, gut-wrenching thing in every bow hunter. You can listen to a million podcasts, read articles, whatever you want, YouTube, go down that rabbit hole. There isn't a bow hunter alive that isn't thinking about it right now as they're listening to your podcast.
Yeah.
Everybody's shaking their head going, oh yeah, dude, I know that horrible, gut-wrenching, empty, achy stomach, icky feeling of I wounded an animal. It's the worst.
Yeah,
it is
dude.
absolutely the worst. And that's good.
Well,
That's a good thing that you think that way, you feel that way. If you don't, you shouldn't be doing the sport.
And I was talking to Slavy about this thing this same topic last night. And I said, you know what though, bro? Like, in the words of
What do you call? No, it's actually Steve Slaby.
Slabby?
Slaby. We can get into Slaby because he's not here right now.
I wish he
had to
was,
go home
man.
and do some taxidermy.
I know, shame on him for not sticking
right.
around and
Quitter.
podcasting with us.
Quitter. What do you guys call in the battalion? Quitter.
RFS. Oh yeah. LOM, lack of motivation is what you call it. I said to him, in the words of Beavis and Butthead, dude, if nothing sucked, nothing could kick ass.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Man.
And it's like, even though that they're just a stupid cartoon, that's actually a pretty profound statement, right? Because it's peaks and valleys, it's highs and lows, and in order to appreciate the good times, you kind of have to know what the bad times feel like.
You totally do, dude. And if you came out, if you and Zach both came here year one and both shot 8-pointers, 10-pointers, 140, 150 deer, first sit or first couple days, that's awesome. But you wouldn't have gone through the journey that you've been through.
Yeah, I'd have an unrealistic
You do it, and
understanding
you'd be like,
of what
that's
bow
cool.
hunting entails.
You're like, that's cool. We did that. Maybe we'll come back. Maybe we won't. But
And
it's this challenge of the pursuit. Sorry,
Definitely,
go ahead.
but I also don't even think like if we were to come and shoot big bucks like that, yeah, it would feel that way. But even if we had a successful trip like we have this trip, the first year, it wouldn't like. Think of us having this trip right now, where we've got 3 dead animals, and then coming next year, the following after that great year, and only getting 1 nubby buck.
Right.
It would feel unsuccessful, and it's never felt unsuccessful.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, Zach, for sure. I mean, I went to Colorado with my friend Ron in second week of September, and we didn't kill a thing. We saw a bull on the first day, and we thought we were in it. It was going to be amazing. The weather was perfect. We cow called in a little not a raghorn. He was a legal bull. We didn't see another elk until the last morning, and it was a spike. We couldn't shoot it. It was 35 yards. He was situated where he could have took a shot. But it was awesome, right? We tag soup, empty coolers. You spend a lot of time and energy and money going out there and traveling. It's not a cheap endeavor. However, like you said this morning when you sat in that chair with coffee, you're like, man, I'm content. I'm good. And we were too. Like, we put it all on the field. We hiked hard. We hunted hard. We hit the spots we wanted to hit. You guys did all that this week. You got up to the stands you wanted to sit in. The weather was perfect. The moon phase was exactly what we were hoping for. Zach and I went to refuel some supplies with water and stuff at Kermit's this morning. Saw a giant 8-pointer it was high noon. Driving down the gravel road, look up on the ridge, and there's a giant 8-pointer, 10 in a doe. You guys both had epic, amazing hunts last night with seeing deer. Zach shot his doe, you shot your buck. 2 deer on the ground at the same time in an archery camp. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
And yeah, they weren't 150, 175 deer, but that doesn't lessen the fact that you both did it at the same time last night, and we butchered 3 deer and got them in the cooler in vacuum sealed bags today, going home in the freezer. Like, that is legit archery camp.
Hell yeah, dude.
It's so great.
And I kind of look at it.
By the way, we ate wild game the whole time we were here. Ish, without the chili, was beef. So
something I tell my jiu-jitsu athletes is, like, if you lose in competition because you were out of shape or you didn't put the pre-competition hours in to get your timing down, and you weren't really dialed in, and you didn't do what you're capable of doing, and then you lose, you should feel like shit, because that's on you.
Yeah.
But if you put in the work and you show up the best version of yourself, and someone else is just a better man than you, man, you got to hold your head high, because you went out there and you did the best you could, right?
Absolutely.
I think the same process, or the same thought process, applies to bow hunting. It's like, dude, we hunted hard. We were busy. We were up before the sun, and we hunted morning, and then we hunted nights, and we stayed busy, and we tried our best, and then it ended up working out.
Yeah.
But if it didn't work out, we still know, like, hey, we did what we could. And at the end of the day, if you did what you could, you got to just be happy that you had that experience with your friends, and that you went out there and you did what you did. If you're not,
I would say you should probably try a different hobby.
yeah, because, like, it is not, you watch enough Cam Haines videos and think you're just going to go out in the woods and harvest these big bucks and these big bulls all the time. Yeah. It's like, no, there's a long, long road to get where he's at.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and honestly, man, like, Andy Gilly, my landowner partner, he brought his son and daughter over here for a nice weekend with his kids. And he took Kellen out. He got Kellen all dialed in. Andy got dialed in with his bow and some new arrows and set up with Jeff about a couple months ago, I guess. But he took Kellen up in the food plot stand that you've been sitting in all week, and they saw like 9 deer the first morning they went out. And the point I'm trying to make here is that there was a little 6-pointer, some does, some spikes. It was a great hunt because they saw these deer. And Kellen's comment to his father was, man, I wish I could just shoot that deer with a rifle right now. And Andy was like, yeah, you can't. It's bow hunting. This is what makes this so great. And I think what's great about all that and what you just articulated is that in the era that we're in of Amazon drones dropping what you ordered into your front porch, 2 hours from when you ordered it, this instant gratification that we've all been trained to do.
Yeah.
It is an amazing thing to have to sit and not get what you're in pursuit of. And whether it's failure or just learning patience, I think archery and bow hunting is actually one of the best things that's out there that teaches us all that every time we go out, man.
Dude, I love that. I love how you articulated that. Because, dude, failure is just part of any journey.
Absolutely.
And even though we hate it,
it makes
there's no
better.
growth. There's no growth without failure.
I'll never forget the deer I shot when I was 19 years old in Merrimack. I don't know if I told this story before on the podcast or not, but I shot a buck and I hit him high, And it was like a 2.5-year-old 8-pointer, but at the time I thought it was like a 175-inch, deer. And I never got him. I tracked him down to a, lost blood like you and I did last year with your doe.
Yep.
Dude, I can still remember to this day, like how crappy I felt and demoralized and how pissed off I was. But it made me a better archer. And it made me practice more. It made me like realize like, oh, I suck. I need to get better with my bow, and I need to practice. Repetition. Because you don't want to do it again, But I think the camp was cool. There's just like a quick shift here. But I think camp was cool this year because you and I talked about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I told you, I said, dude, this year, you guys, I'm going to let you do your thing. And everybody gives me shit because I like to be Camp Susie and stay back here and drink coffee and sweep up and clean and do all the stuff. And I have a method to that madness, as you guys know. But I really wanted you guys to come this year and take everything that you've learned about. You know how to hunt, Zach, but you've now hunted bluff country, driftless area. I wanted you guys to go out there on your own and kind of solo a little bit. Yeah. I'm here to support you. And then when Slobby showed up, he was here to support you. We both were. But, dude, you guys were ready to take that next step. And that track that you ended up doing on your own, you told me the story about how you were in there tracking them after Zach left you, and you sat there quiet, and you listened, and you heard that deer
rustling around a little bit, yeah.
And that's when you were able to get in there and get the job done and finish it. That made me really proud of you because you did what you needed to do. You got into the zone of the woods, and you had a situation that you had to problem solve. And not that you can't problem solve, because that's what you've been doing ever since you were probably 17. But
still, it's a new process to solve these problems.
Yeah,
and still, like, it's the same as jiu-jitsu, man. It's endless, right? It's an endless endeavor,
dude. I'm 50.
Say.
I'll be 51 in, let's say, the 27th. Happy birthday, Gilly, by the way. Gilly's birthday today. I'll be 51, and I still feel like I am a brand new novice archer. I really do. I mean, I pass up a lot of deer, as you know, like we talked about last year, but I am so particular about what angle and like how close and broadside, quartering away. I've just been through that shit where I've lost them, and I've watched people shoot them and lose them. And even if I wasn't the person that, like, if I'm on a track with you guys and we don't get the deer, everybody, like, feels that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Zach said it the other night, like, oh, man, I'm glad Greg got that deer because the vibe of the camp, not that you would have been pouty or anything, but when somebody loses a deer in camp, it just
doesn't feel good.
It just feels crappy for the vibe of the camp. But when somebody, like, harvests one, remember last night, Addison and I came in from sitting down in the field, Zach had shot his doe, you had shot your buck, you and Slobby were out there, and I'm like, Zach's telling Addie and I that he got a doe, and then we found out that you shot a buck. I'm like, holy crap, we got 2 deer down tonight at the same time. Like, and Addison was my daughter was up here hunting with us. It was awesome, dude. It was like, everything was like, it didn't matter if it was a 180 or the buck that you shot, right? We all
a little smaller than the 180.
It was like, I think it was like 174 and 3/8. Yeah.
For people that are wondering, it was a little 6-pointer. But
and if you're not excited about that, then you don't need to bow hunt.
That's right, dude. Yeah.
And you are.
And another cool thing that I think is worth mentioning is, you typically the way you guys hunt here is you get a morning hunt in and you get an evening hunt, and then you have a midday break.
Mm-hmm.
Because the animal movement is typically just slower during the middle of the day. Not gone, but as you just said, you saw that big buck in noon, right?
Yep.
But Slobby told me the night before, he goes, just remember, bro, like, guys will climb out of their stand like right around sunset so they can walk back and have a little bit of light. He goes, a lot of times your best shots happen within the last 15 to 20 minutes of the legal hunt.
Yep.
And he goes, so stay in your stand until it hits that legal hunt time, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, you should be walking out under your headlamp. If you're walking out before that, you're missing some prime opportunities. He goes, because some of the best opportunities that I've come across are in those last 15 minutes of the hunt. And I was sitting in my stand, and the sun was going down, and Dude, his words, I like heard him say, because I was like, well, this is the conclusion of this evening.
Yeah.
And then Slavi's like voice in my head is like,
Stay
for the last 15 minutes of the hunt, because that's a lot of times the animals start moving once it starts to get a little darker. And dude, we calculated it. I shot that buck with literally like 3 minutes left of legal hunting time.
Yep.
And it was starting to get dark.
Yeah.
And it was exactly what he said. The animals started moving.
Yeah.
And so it's like, my day is not going to change if I climb out of the stand at 5:50 or 6:15. Mm-hmm. But a lot can happen in those last 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what happened.
I mean, white-tailed deer are crepuscular animals, right? Critters. They like the low light mornings and evening. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I was able to, I saw that animal walking out, and it was like, oh, here, it's happening, right?
Yeah.
And like, even though there's always an element of excitement, right? I wouldn't say it's buck fever anymore, where it's like, oh, fuck, dude. Oh, it's like, no, I got this, dude. I got this.
Which is, that's elevation of your journey, dude. That's exactly what we were talking about. Like, when you get there, now you're on the path. Like, you're on a path to, you're going to kill a 150, 160 deer someday. There's no doubt.
It'll happen.
But
it'll also happen maybe in 10 years, and I'm okay with that.
Right.
You know?
And
just trusting the process.
We talked about this the first podcast, and even this week. Like, we've got these deer heads on the wall, but this is a culmination of 20, 24 years of owning the property. And there's really not that many deer if you think about how many times we've been out in the stand. I mean, yeah, we have some beautiful deer and skulls and stuff around here, but we don't have 50 of them.
Well,
you know
bro,
what I mean?
Also, like, if you were to...
It's like a snapshot of... It's a little fake, honestly.
If you were to do
a false representation of... It's a deep fake, bro.
A calculation...
I don't even know what a deep fake is. I live in Darlington.
A calculation...
A deep fake, by the way, back in the 80s and 90s was like you were dribbling right, and then you like cross over behind your back and go left.
Yeah,
that was a deep fake.
Yeah, I don't even know what that
90s.
shit means. You're speaking Chinese to me now. But if we're looking at the 10 deer that you have mounted in this cabin, how many fucking sits have happened for every one of these deer on the wall?
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe
hours.
500 sits, right? Or something crazy, right?
There's 3 over there, and there's 4 right there, and there's 2 deadheads that we found right here that we didn't even shoot. Excuse me. But no, I mean, 4 deer right there, that's representing 28 years I've been bow hunting.
Yeah.
And those are the 4 shoulder mount deer that I've had, that I've killed with gun and bow.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And yes, I probably could have pulled the trigger on some other ones that I've passed over the years, but yeah, it's it doesn't happen overnight, man. It does not happen just like anything we've talked about.
Well, and it's funny too. We've talked about this a couple times this week. The contrasts of how you hunt here versus how they hunt in Hawaii.
Oh yeah,
because with axis being an invasive species,
I want to go be a wild animal with you guys with the dukes out there
because they want them eradicated. So it's like
it's different.
Hey, take that 70-yard shot. Like, take it. Like, and if you miss, like, and you wound the animal, good, because we want to eradicate them. Right. And it's like, and don't get me wrong, I don't want to be like, yeah, I'll wound an axis. I don't care. Right. Like, the same thought process applies, right? But because the population is exploding and they're trying to cull the herd, it is a different approach to hunting.
Yes.
Whereas here, like, your guys' methodology is like, don't release that arrow unless you are comfortable you're going to kill that animal. Mm-hmm. And
I don't know why it's different. It just is, I guess. I mean, I don't know if it's we all just like put whitetails on a pedestal here in Wisconsin or in the upper Midwest.
Well,
or
bro,
not,
if there was herds of hundreds of thousands of them like there is in Maui.
There are.
Are they nuisance here, though?
I mean, there are probably farmers that would say they are.
Yeah.
Because they're eating their crops, and you get like, I mean, we're in the zone 5, I think. We are here, and we got all these ag tags, right? Like, I think I bought my daughter a license the other day. She has 9 doe tags.
Yeah.
9. Like, there's no way that all of us could go out and kill 9 does, even with rifles. Like, that's a lot of animals to harvest. You know what I'm saying? I guess if we hunted every day and we had really good access to good land, we could. But no, I mean, I think to your point is what you're making is you guys come here, and we talked about it before you guys got here. I mean, the goal here on 80 acres is that, yeah, it'd be great to run around and just fling arrows. What do we got for time?
No, we're good. I'm just,
okay.
I check periodically.
Making me nervous.
No. Do we got all, dude, I got good
Zach,
SD
what are
cards.
those deer doing?
I've been watching them.
It's not like last year where I had a bunk SD card. Remember that fucking debacle?
That kind of stressed me out a little bit.
Yeah, that was a shit show. I'm a professional now. We're all dialed in. So
I think I'm getting better at this.
you are, dude. You're a professional. You should start your own podcast.
What would I talk about?
Bro, you're Chatterbox Chad. You can talk about all of it.
If
dude.
I did start a podcast, though, I would. My buddy Mike Eads told me that if we ever did a podcast, we should call it The Table. The name of the podcast would be called The Table. I thought it was kind of cool because it's like the tables where you come together to like eat and dine and talk and
share
converse.
knowledge.
Yeah, bro. I don't know. Sounds kind of cool.
Bro, I have
maybe my calling is to start a podcast.
I probably have
And I would have 0 listeners.
10 friends at the gym that have started their own podcasts. And you know what's funny is like Rogan always says it, like if you have stuff that you want to share with the world, start a podcast.
Yeah.
Like, go out there and do that because someone somewhere will derive value from what you have to share. And it's the same concept as anything. It's like if you're chasing downloads, don't start a podcast.
Mm-mm.
But if you feel like you have valuable insight on things that could add value to people's life, that's what it's about. You know, it's the same thing in like entrepreneurship. Andy Frisella says, like, dude, if you want to start a business with the mindset of getting rich, you're fucked. It'll never succeed. You want the mindset of building something that enriches people's lives.
Absolutely.
And then that's where the magic happens.
I don't have any value to provide people's lives.
You're so
Greg.
full of shit, dude.
My value is
Look at the value you've provided in our life.
Well, I know, but
Just
like
between the two of us.
Andy and I bought this cabin because we got drunk at Taco Bell at 2:00 in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, back in the '90s. So that was a vision.
You know what though? I told Andy this. I said, listen.
By the way, that was awesome that you and Gilly got to both you guys got to sit and visit with him.
You know,
Gilly,
you guys
love
were
you, buddy.
You
Happy
guys
birthday.
were what, 19 years old, drunk at Taco Bell,
Yeah, I'd say about right around there.
and said, you know what, dude? Let's fucking like.
By the way, we walked from downtown Stevens Point in a blizzard. We were down. The chicks didn't want to like get down with us at. I think it was Buffy's was the name of the bar we were hanging out at. And Andy looks at me and goes, "Are you hungry?" I'm like, "Yeah." So we walked we didn't even have boots on. It was literally a blizzard in central Wisconsin, and we walked about 1.5 miles to Taco Bell to get some food because that's what you do when you're
That's just 19-year-old shit, though.
You're just being stupid.
Yeah.
And we sat in that Taco Bell, and we were like, dude, we need to buy some land and build a cabin and have a wood stove and eat peanuts and drink beer and play poker with our buddies and throw the peanut shells on the floor and make it a deer camp. And here we are.
And here you are.
That's
and it's
crazy,
like,
dude.
Well, bro, and that's the thing. It's like
It's so dumb. But here we
it's
are.
not dumb. You know why it's not dumb? Is because that is what makes human beings different from any other animal. Is you can have a thought in your head, and then you have the power of creation.
Yeah.
And the power of creation is powerful. And you can sit here. Like at some point, someone said, "How do I want to send a rocket into outer space."
Mm-hmm.
And then they fucking did it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with something as some people may not think like this is the biggest fucking deal in the world. You bought a plot of land and put a cabin on it. But it started with an idea, and then you decided like, hey, yeah, we were drunk in Taco Bell talking shit, but I actually think that's something I really want to pursue and invest in. And 22 years later or whatever it is, how many memories have come out of this fucking room?
Oh, dude. Endless.
And they're probably with some of the best people you know.
Yep.
Sharing time and space, building really powerful memories.
Yeah.
And dude, that's another aspect of deer camp that I think is important to touch on. It's like, sure, the art of hunting is what brought us together, But you know what's more important than the hunt is the camaraderie that we share with each other.
100%.
And
Doesn't matter if
the
it's
tribe,
muskie,
the brotherhood.
pheasants.
And that's people fucking probably get sick of me talking about this, but if they're listening, that means that they want to hear more of it. But it's the truth. Surrounding yourself with good people that build you up and teach you, and like something I talk about very often is the fluidity of leadership. Like, I want the men in my life to be able to guide and mentor me in certain aspects, and then there are other aspects of life that I could guide and mentor you.
Yeah.
That is where real powerful relationships are formed. And so, like, that's not lost on me. I get to come out here with these super experienced hunters and pull a lot of knowledge from them and bond with them and get to know them. And then what this does is it builds something that we get to carry forward in the future. And, like, dude, we're already talking about what's next, you know?
Yeah.
And Slavi's like, listen, like, deer camp's cool and all, but I'd like to spend more time with you guys. Like,
Yeah,
what would that
more stuff.
What would that look like?
Yeah.
And dude, that is the experience.
Pretty amazing.
That's
actually.
the experience of being a human being.
Yeah.
Is nurturing relationships and building your tribe of people.
And being a person of your word and executing it and doing it.
Yeah.
Right? Not just saying it. That's something, I don't know how I developed that in my life, but I just feel like if I'm going to open my mouth and commit to something, I want to make sure that I follow through on it, because the last thing I've ever wanted to I guess, be as like imposter or yeah, we'll do that. And then I don't know, it just doesn't sit well with me. If I'm going to say something out loud to somebody and invite them to come and be here, I mean it.
Well,
you know
a lot of men,
and you're proof positive that that's true, right?
A lot of men are just inherently all words and no action.
Right.
And so
sometimes I'm too many words, and then I don't know if I can really sustain the action.
But I'll tell you this, though.
I try, Zach.
Because I'm the same way as you, bro. I will say things into the universe because once it's spoken into the universe, now it's an accountability tool. Mm-hmm. Because you've given a commitment to doing something.
Yeah.
And once you commit, it was this, even as a little, I was going to say a little boy, but I wasn't a little boy when I went into the Ranger Regiment. I was 19.
Well, you're kind of a little boy.
Still, that's still kind of a little boy, right?
Yeah.
And I remember, I was like, dude, I told my friends and my family that I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I can't fail.
If you go back home and you didn't do it, you're like, oh my God, I'd rather.
The log PT was just too hard for me.
Right.
Like, dude,
Yeah.
no, your word's behind that.
Right.
And it's like, your word may not, sure, there are really big aspects of our lives that, like, our word is something that we should fucking always stand behind and see through. But even little things, because here's the deal. If you're not going to see it through, you don't have to say it.
Right.
If it's something, or just articulate that. Be like, hey, like, this is something I'm interested in. Maybe we'll do it, but I'm real busy right now. If we get to it, cool. If not, though. But when you say, hey, I'm going to fucking do something, and you're my friend, I expect to see you do that.
Absolutely.
And it's an important aspect.
Yeah. I mean, it's trust, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is the foundation of all relationships.
100%. My buddies give me shit about this all the time, by the way. They're like, Depauw, you're just like your dad. You just talk to people, and then they're like, next thing you know, you invite them to bow camp or pheasant camp or muskie camp. So to all my other bros out there, it's going to keep happening. So deal with it.
Well, I also think you're a pretty good judge of character. So let me ask you this.
Ooh, that's a very nice compliment.
Well,
tell me more about how great I am.
This is the question. Have you ever invited someone out and then they're out here and you're like, what the fuck, dude?
Not here.
Like that was probably a bad call.
What do you mean?
No, I'm saying, like, if I came out here and started bow
one
hunting.
time I invited this guy from Washington who was an Army Ranger, and god damn was he a pain in the ass. No, not at the cabin here, because honestly, so I've done that pheasant hunting. I've done that at different trips with other fishing trips and whatnot. And I've had to kind of unwind that ball of twine that I created, and I made my own mess, and I had to kind of clean it up. But like Andy said the other night, Gilly Boy, when you guys were talking and I was grabbing my daughter from college to get here, he said to me, these guys are great. and you can tell that they appreciate being here.
Yeah. Well, I was very intentional on letting him know that.
Well, of course, and that's how you guys are. That's why you keep getting invited back. But I think to your question and the point, I have had that experience multiple times, and it definitely put me in a very precarious situation because I invited people on trips, and you get through the trip, right? Because you don't have a choice. You're in North Dakota, you're in South Dakota, you're in wherever, fill in the blank of what destination you're at. You make the best of the situation with the people you're with, but then you learn like, oh, that's not the person that I'm going to go spend that kind of time with.
Yeah.
Not that they're bad people, and maybe it's me more than them.
You're just, sometimes you're not congruent with humans for whatever reason.
When the first year you guys were here, from the get, whether, regardless of rancher's wedding and vetting and all that, you still have to come here, and you still have to kind of like envelop yourself into the camp.
Yeah.
You guys weren't, cook me dinner, or, I'm gonna go take a nap, or
what's this slop, dude? I thought I was coming to some fancy deer camp.
Like, what is this? Like, I'm here to hang out with you, and you're not like making sure I get like
where's my coffee?
Portobello mushrooms, and
Actually, I was a little disappointed. There wasn't any of those.
You'll be happy
true.
to know I fucking hate mushrooms.
Well,
unless they have psilocybin inside of them, and then I love mushrooms.
Is that like an asteroidal projection? You know how I am with multi-syllable words. By the way, folks listening, we discovered that Greg has had
an astral projection. Not an asteroidal projection.
Which to my reply was, I think you need some preparation aid.
You said I was telling you the story.
Medicated paths.
Bro, I'm trying to tell you this like really powerful experience that I had.
I was listening.
And I was like, dude, I had an astral projection. You said, what is that? Like some kind of projectile shit coming out of your ass? I was like, dude, fuck, man.
I think today we decided that the definition of astral projection is shitting through a keyhole at 20 paces.
I'm going to do an episode on the astral projection with the person that I shared it with. So sorry, you guys are going to have to be in suspense on that one for a little bit.
Stay tuned for that one. I'm the kind of person, dude, that now that you've filled this into my brain space,
you're going to go research it?
Dude, I'll be reading about that shit for like 3 days for sure. Thank God for the YouTubes.
Something else I want
the interwebs.
Something else I want to bring up, because this is the deer camp episode.
Yeah.
Because I think this is interesting. Do
people like the deer camp episode?
I've had people writing me be like, please tell me there's a deer camp episode coming out.
That's cool. But
a lot of people are hunters though. Yeah. And so when you hear people talking about a subject that you're interested in, and you can learn things or hear different perspectives, it's cool, right?
Yeah.
Because really, like, what is a podcast? A podcast is no different than a listener of the Endless Endeavor just sitting on the couch with us and sharing this conversation, right? Yeah. And this is something I think is an interesting perspective to share as a hunter, because, dude, I killed a button buck, and then I killed a 6-pointer,
year and a half year old,
which wasn't some fucking trophy buck, right?
But it is.
And it was a trophy buck to me, man.
Hell yeah.
That was a fucking really rad experience.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's how it should feel.
But one thing that Steve said to me, Slobby, he goes, listen, man. He goes, a lot of people that are like, don't take young bucks, don't take this, don't take that. He goes, I think that's kind of a backwards way of thinking, because if you're thinking about it from a perpetuation of the species point of view.
But he goes, can I just jump in?
Hold on, though. He said, you can kill almost every buck in these woods. Every doe will get bred this year.
Yes.
There's not a doe that won't get bred.
100%.
So the does are going to get bred, and they're going to have fawns.
By the dominant bucks.
And if there's 10 bucks on the property, or there's 20, all the does are going to have fawns this spring. And he goes, so in my opinion, if you get an opportunity to take a younger buck or even a button buck, it's like, you're not going to impact the species like you would if you took 5 does.
Right.
He goes, you take 5 does, he goes, most of the does here have twins.
Yep.
So he goes, you took 10 deer out of the spring
We had 2 does on camera this spring that had twins. There were twins all over the place.
That's what he said. This property, for whatever reason, the does have twins. And he's like, so you kill 5 does, you took 10 new deer off the property.
Yeah.
You kill $5, you took those $5 off the property.
And I heard you and Steve talking about it last night, I believe, and you were getting into the science of the evolutionary biology of
the antlers.
The antlers.
Yeah.
And that is actually the expression of the alleles from the doe, not the buck. So the misconception, to your point, is that everybody's like, oh, dude, you shot that deer. He was going to breed 10 does. It really doesn't come from the buck. It's the genetics of the doe and what genetics she carries from her mother that express what her offspring of a buck will be. So if you're going to dig down into the Punnett square, going back to my biology days, of the genetics of these animals, it isn't the buck that provides the antler growth. It's from the doe. And if people want to go out and question that, you can research the hell out of that. You can look it up. It's all out there. It's published.
Yeah, and he even said, he goes, I have friends that own deer farms that have like champion does because they hold the champion bloodlines.
They do.
It's not the buck.
It's not the buck.
So it's like people that understand this a lot better than you, that are actually like their livelihood is built around this.
I mean, listen to Brunella's podcast, The Meat Eater. Those guys go into all this probably years and years ago, but there's all kinds of data and research. Charles Alschumer. I mean, I don't know all the names, but there's all kinds of data out there that you can go into, and it's proven.
Well, and another thing that,
and you know how big of a nerd I am on the moon, and we can, if you want to go down that rabbit hole, we certainly can. But
going to the moon?
No, hunting during different moon phases.
I thought you wanted to talk about the conspiracy of the moon landing.
Well, I mean, you know,
because I don't think we went to the moon anymore.
No, that was in like. Did they do that in like Vegas?
Bro, AI reviewed the lunar or the fucking moon landing footage.
Yeah.
And talked about all the reasons why it's fake.
Yeah.
So
I think they did it up in like Crivets, Wisconsin, didn't they?
I don't know where they did it, but here's the thing.
Oh yeah, Christ, let's do something up in Wisconsin where we look like we went to the moon or no.
But bro, like, we don't need to go into it on this podcast, but the government has lost all our trust, and now I don't believe anything you say, including the fact that you said we went to the fucking moon. Fuck you. Another thing that Steve said that was interesting, though, is he's like, because people think the genetics come from the buck, a lot of hunters think, oh, if you see a buck with an ugly rack, kill that thing.
Right.
And he's like, not going to do shit.
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of last year we talked about the crossbow, longbow, compound bow debate between hunters, but that one right there, that topic that's a whole podcast in itself, or you can go down the rabbit hole. However, it's not really a debate. It's proven. It's scientifically proven. Like there's definitely research and studies.
Would you say trust the science?
Always.
I wouldn't say always.
No, and here's the thing,
science
too. Like,
is, by the way, what is science? If we want to go there, what exactly is science?
I would say science is probably the best hypothesis based on what we know at the time.
Exactly. And science is evolving. It's never perfect. It's like there's scientific methodology. So if people want to be in a static environment, that this is what it is today. Sorry, it's going to change tomorrow.
Exactly, dude.
It's called evolution and ecology, which is awesome, which is what makes everything intriguing to me.
I know,
especially in the natural world, right? Like, the one thing I love about the pursuit of any species, whether it's deer, muskies, elk, quail, you name it, right? It's just understanding that animal's behavior. And we talked about this on the first podcast when you guys came here. That's the thing that gets me fired up about having you guys here hunting myself. I took my daughter out last night, when you guys were out in stands, we went and sat. And she was like educating me on how like white-tailed deer are like the ultimate center of like the ecological process. Like everything in the environment touches a white-tailed deer, from bacteria to like every organism. She was kind of walking me through like this like interaction of symbiosis of white-tailed deer in the environment. I'm like, dang. I mean, we're literally sitting 180 yards from this cabin on that fence line looking at deer in the field, and she's like walking me through this.
You've been killing whitetail before she was a fucking
a sparkle in anybody's eye.
a swimmer in her father's, you know
right,
what?
Exactly.
And now she's teaching you even more.
Right.
It's cool, man.
Which was super cool. Like, we're sitting out there trying to hunt and harvest an animal with her, and she's telling me all this stuff, like what we're talking about. I'm like, this is what I love about all this, man. We're out here watching the valley, talking about life, hanging out, talking about you guys, and talking about deer camp. And I'm like, this is where it's at, dude. This is all where it's at.
I'll tell you what, like, deer camp is usually filled with potty mouths and not censoring any of my thoughts.
Yeah.
And then when Addison was here, I was like, just dropping some things that I was like, that's his 18-year-old daughter. I should probably tone it down a little bit. But she seemed like she's just down, you know, like.
She's been around Slavey a lot.
He's going to love that, by the way.
Well, as Mr. Slobby says, it's in the Bible.
It's in the Bible.
Yeah, if it's in the Bible, you can say it at deer camp.
Did you want to say about moon phases in regards to hunting?
No, dude, I am a huge, thank you for that. I am, so I think it's over on the shelf over there, but I don't know when. I read a book back in 2001, 2002, Charles Alschumer, Hunting Whitetails by the Moon. There's a lot of different articles and books and stuff written on this. But this gentleman, I think, is the Mac Daddy of like whitetail research. He had a farm in Pennsylvania. He did research on all this stuff with, you know, his population of deer. And he was a big proponent of hunting whitetails by the moon. And really what it boils down to in a synopsis of it is that there's different moon phases, right? You get to the full moon, dark moon. But he came to the conclusion that the second full moon at the autumnal equinox, the harvest moon as they call it, is what really triggers the doe's pituitary gland to send the does into estrus, essentially into their heat cycle for breeding.
Okay.
And he actually collected and did all these, you know, progesterone and whatnot studies, blood studies, urine samples, and scientifically on his farm. Now that's on his, you know, acreage. I think it was like 400 or 500 acres. I think it was high fence. So it was controlled. So take that to what it is. But what I've observed here is that in a dark moon phase, the animals are more active during the daylight, and in a full moon phase, they're more active at night. And it just makes sense, right? These animals are preyed on by coyotes and other creatures, bobcats. I think we have mountain lions in this area. I'm not really sure. But any animal that has a predator that's prey is going to capitalize on, you know, the most success of survival.
Yeah.
And if they can feed all night when it's a full moon and then go back and bed down in a location that they're secure during the day, they're not going to be on their feet during the day because they're up all night partying, if you will, on a full moon. And in a dark moon phase, they're going to be up on their feet during the daytime. And obviously that coincides with the rut, but really his research demonstrated that the full moon and when that light, that photosensitivity in the doe's pituitary gland is triggering estrus is essentially what his hypothesis. And
so because we don't get to hunt at night because that's illegal.
Correct.
Day hunting is typically better during a dark moon phase. Then?
I personally believe that, yes.
Okay.
And actually, I believe that for muskie fishing. I don't know about birds. I don't think it really matters for birds because you're out there on the prairie and you're doing stuff. But when it comes to elk, deer, mule deer, certainly muskies, we experience this at muskie camp. We try to schedule our muskie trip on a dark moon phase because muskies are the same thing. If it's light out at night, they can see in the water column and they're going after the prey, right? They're putting their feed bag on at night, and then during the day they're just sitting around loafing and digesting, just like that chili goulash meal we had the other night.
Well, I mean, also the moon.
I kind of nerd out on that stuff, man. I get like all into it.
And I mean, I have never musky fished, but I bet that has a lot more validity there because they're predatory fish versus like whitetail. Obviously, they're eaten and just trying not to get eaten.
Exactly.
But if a muskie's able to feed at night, then when all of their prey is basically dormant, why wouldn't they?
Exactly. They're capitalizing on their opportunity. Now, that's just anecdotal Chad Depauw, 29, 30, whatever years of muskie fishing with my bro Ron Bachleitner up in Lake of the Woods, Minnesota. So I don't have any data.
Are you putting that disclaimer out there so people don't write you and say, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about?
I mean, I'm really kind of like unwritable. I live in a little drinking town with a farming problem in southwest Wisconsin.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong. I'm going to tag your Instagram.
I don't think that people are going to be blowing up my social media.
I'm going to tag your Instagram in the show notes below.
Listen, man.
So people can write you and say, dude, I really like your podcast. Or they can say, you don't know what the fuck you're talking
guy's
about.
Dumber than a box of hammered shit. Greg Anderson. What does he know?
Well, here's the other thing about...
They can write my complaints department, www.fuckyourself.com.
Bro, it doesn't matter what it is, how much experience you have, how much success you have. Like, there are going to be people that feel the complete opposite as 100%. You, and so fucking be it.
There might be people out there that have muskie fished on a full moon and had great success.
And just fucking slayed.
Or bow hunted on a full moon and like killed the biggest buck of their life, or have a pattern of success with that. But
if they're hunting at night, maybe.
Possibly, but yeah, no, I don't. I mean, I feel like reading that book, and Greg Miller was a big author of mine back in the day, like in the '90s. The HS guys like Roger Ragland.
I'm not familiar.
Greg Miller is he was a concrete guy. He's from Bloomer, Wisconsin, up in like Eau Claire, north of Eau Claire. I was like totally geeked out on all of his books and videos and stuff like that back in the '90s and early 2000s. Those were sweet times when all those books and VHS tapes, like that was our media to learn how to bow hunt and stuff. And I read his book. I actually think I have his book over there too. It's called Rubline Secrets by Greg Miller. The dude was just a concrete construction guy that bow hunted a ton and just spent a ton of time in the woods, and just reading his material just made sense to me. And when we bought the property, I started like going out all times of the year, searching for rub lines and following and connecting the dots, essentially. Like, oh, they're down here in the field and there's a rub line going up the ridge, and then there's a bedding area.
So unpack what that is for people that aren't familiar.
Any ungulate animal, deer, elk, moose, an antelope is not an ungulate. Actually, I believe they have a hoof. I don't think they're a split-toed animal. So an ungulate is a split-toed animal. Those species all interact with each other. The bucks or the bulls and the does. The bucks and bulls will bachelor group up. They'll kind of be together, and they will they'll create scrapes, and they'll create signposts. So a rub is a rub on a tree. So a moose might scrape and rub a tree or a bush. An elk, a deer, mule deer, whitetail, they'll do all that.
When they scrape it, are they doing it to rub their scent on it?
Rub. So a scrape is on the ground.
Scrapes on the ground.
Rubs on a tree.
Rubs on a tree.
Yep. So it is a signpost. A rub is a signpost, and they're rubbing the tree, and they're actually what they're really doing is like you, jack and steel in the gym, so you can go and roll and be dominant, right? The bucks and the bulls, they're doing the same thing. They're using that rub to signpost mark with their scent glands on their head, but also to strengthen their neck muscles when it's time to freaking go, brah. Just like the other day when Addison and I were sitting in the stand-up stand and you were over on the food plot and you're like, there's a Sasquatch in your woods, bro. And I'm like, what's going on? I heard a smacking of 2x4. You said, you texted me, I heard a smacking of 2x4s.
That's what it sounded like.
And I heard like a groan. I don't remember exactly what you said, but you heard a noise that sounded guttural.
Yeah.
So you heard, and I think
I said guttural.
Guttural. Yeah. Did I say guttural? Asteroidal. Yeah. Hemorrhoids. Projection. No, like you heard 2 deer fighting, and you heard a buck grunting, whether they were grunting at another buck or they were grunting at a doe. But the scrapes are what the does, the bucks will make scrapes, and they will urinate in them, they'll put scent in them, It's just a signal for the does to come in, and then the does, when they're ready, when that pituitary gland, like we talked about, is producing estrogen, and they will urinate in the scrape, and the bucks are making these scrapes as a place to set the stage for the date night.
So scrapes are like Tinder for deers.
Exactly. So the bucks are making scrapes. That is, yeah, they swipe right or left based on the wind. That's actually a good analogy. But the rubs are more for the bucks, other bucks. The scrapes are for the bucks to relate to the does, to signal, I'm ready to breed. The doe will come in when she's in estrus, and she will urinate in that scrape. The buck will be checking those scrapes, and when they pick up a doe in heat, the estrus, the scent that they know, that triggers them to say, I am open and receptive for breeding.
I want to get fucked by you because I pissed in
Right
your scrape.
here. So
Man, I wish it worked like that for humans. You just kick some rocks around and take a piss on the ground.
Well,
And
I mean,
if a woman walks up and pisses where you piss, that means she wants to get down. That seems easy.
I mean,
We play a lot.
Until there's
don't we already
hunters
do
in the
that?
trees trying to kill you.
Yeah.
we kind of do the same thing where it's like, hey,
monkeys that shoot spears at you.
don't pee on my seat. Lift the seat.
So let me ask you this, and I don't even know if you know. If a doe finds a scrape and
Yes.
she's like, for whatever reason, this is a genetic match for me. I want to get fucked by this buck. And she pees in that, and
Yeah.
he starts pursuing her.
Yes.
Does she make the decision
Yes.
of who she's gonna fuck?
100%.
Okay, so then when they start fighting over it, is it kind of already a foregone conclusion? She's already made her choice? Or can another buck be like, dude, if I can kick his ass, I get to fuck you? Really scientific lingo.
Man, that is a really hard question. I mean, it's not a hard question to answer, but it's not.
Because why else would they be fighting then, right?
Yes, there's a lot of discussion and debate and science, I guess proven science, and I'm not the expert to talk to this, but there have been papers published that demonstrate antler size is definitely important to who breeds. Okay.
Oh, so they can gain an understanding of antler size based on the scrape.
There are theories and published literature out there that demonstrate that. Yes.
Okay.
Now you could probably argue that. However, I don't know how to answer this question. It's a hard question to articulate. So that plays into it. But there are if there is a buck that is trying to breed a doe who is receptive, and he is not to her standard, she will not let him breed him or her. Sorry. So let's say that she goes in, and what they do is they urinate in the scrape.
Dude, it's 2024. 2 bucks can actually have a baby now. So
That's true. Yeah.
it changes everything you've learned over the last 20 years.
I mean, there is like in vitro fertilization.
Yeah.
So that's a good point. I don't know how to answer that one. But what I'm trying to get to is the doe will pee in the scrape and go bed down like 60, 80 yards away from where she urinated in that scrape and wait. Okay. So when these bucks are cruising, like we talked about, they're cruising the scrapes and they're searching, they're looking for that scent. And when they come across it, it's on. They're chasing, they're tending. But there will be a period of time if there's a smaller buck or a less dominant buck, and I don't know how they know, they just know, right? There's science behind all that. But let's say there's a little 8-pointer or a 3.5-year-old 8-pointer that wants to breed this doe. She somehow knows that he is not the dominant buck, and she will not let her or him mount her to breed. She just knows inherently that that's not the deer that she wants to produce offspring with. It's natural selection.
I see.
When we talked about the other day when you're in the stand and all these deer are showing up and the other big boys are hanging in the periphery waiting to walk in, they're not going to expend that energy unless they know it's time to go. And he knows that, and she knows that. And they know when the right time for that to happen will be. Now, there might be younger does
That are just down with whatever.
That's
what I was going to ask. Let's say
But there is a dominant doe, just like there's a dominant buck. And she's carrying the dominant genes on the landscape.
Oh, so both the bucks and the does are in some type of competition.
Absolutely.
For rising up the hierarchy.
Yep. And
So,
dude, it sounds stupid, but it's no, it's no different than human beings,
Doesn't
right?
sound stupid at all, bro.
Bro, I mean, human beings are attracted to other human beings. And if you're a muscular, now obviously you have to be a gentle, kind, giant, masculine man for the ladies
do girls
to like.
want fucking studs or pussies?
Correct.
Let's be honest.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there is that selection of that's in all of nature. Every human being, every species on the planet, right? You're not going to allow somebody to breed you who has inferior genetics, typically.
Of course.
Maybe not by choice. But anyway.
That's why Jenny chose me.
Absolutely. 100%.
She said, I want the best genetics around,
that
dude.
is going to produce amazing offspring.
And it has so far.
It has. I'm doing pretty good. So
But
let me
no,
ask you
we
this.
joke about it, but it's true. Like,
Yeah, of course.
That's exactly what it is.
Well,
And
bro,
so that's what happens out there with elk. I mean, you talk about a herd bull with elk or antelope, they're a herd animal, but mule deer, whitetails, blacktails, that's how it works. And that is how they continuously procreate and create strong, surviving offspring.
If
It's Darwin natural selection.
how many
I feel
deer
like that should be published.
how many deer
Z.
do you have on your property at any given time?
Oh my goodness.
If you had to guess.
I would say we
60
probably
or something?
hold no.
No?
I would say we probably hold about 12 to 15 pretty consistently.
Oh, that's it? I feel like it. I'm surprised by that because we saw
Yeah.
deer all fucking week.
I mean,
But maybe we just saw the same ones.
deer that are actually bedding on our property every day, right? Like a doe family group, because the does have a family group and the bucks have bachelor groups. But as we get into the rut, the bachelor groups break up. The doe family groups stay the same. It's just like a herd of cows or a herd of antelope antelope or does. So the girls hang together in the family group. The bucks are kind of bachelor and they're not committed, right? They're just roaming around. But once you get into the rut, they start roaming further and further and further from their core area, and the girls stay where they stay. They eat close to home, they bed close to home, and they drink close to home.
and they get
everything's here.
fucked close to home.
Amen. As they should. However, on our land, to answer your question, I think we probably have probably 8 to 10 does total that are different family groups. If you look at the valley over on the Ron's Ridge area, there's probably like a doe family group that kind of lives there. And then up on the ridge, we probably have 1 or 2 from the Killing Tree over to the Oak Flat. Those are different doe family groups. So the deer you were seeing in the food plot are coming from the Oak Flat. That's a family group. And there might be one down in Zeke's Draw that are coming up. So that's a different family
I
group.
feel bad now for shooting them.
You have murdered a family.
Yeah, fuck, dude.
But no,
but like-
this is fascinating biology, like deer biology.
Yeah.
And it's really important and we're farting around and joking and laughing about it, but I'm trying to do it as best justice as I can.
Well, bro,
from a
we don't
scientific
need
standpoint.
a fucking college professor to give a dissertation.
Well, let me tell you, Greg.
You have actually fucking lived this life. You have more.
I have a
You have
PhD
more
of-
validity than anyone.
Well, thank you.
Are whitetails just by nature more skittish, or is
Yes.
it because every single fucking person in Wisconsin is trying to put an arrow through them?
I think whitetails by nature are skittish. I don't care if you're in Montana, Wyoming, Wisconsin, Michigan. It's just the way that species behaves.
Because, dude, out on my property in Granite Falls, Washington, we have blacktails, and I'll come across them every once in a while, and bro, they'll just hang out.
Yeah. But I mean,
But they're also
whitetails
not.
do the same thing. It's just when they don't like we talked about this week. If pressure's a very loose definition for a whitetail, right? If you're like in there and they smell you. Like if we went up there every day on a 4-wheeler or a tractor and dropped some whatever, did some work or whatever, they don't care. But if you're on foot, there's something that they can sense, like you said the other day, the vibrations of putting it in neutral versus being all tense.
Yeah.
They can sense a predator. That's their whole existence, is avoiding predation.
Yeah.
And so they are keyed up to that. whether it's human beings or coyotes or wolves or whatever it is, they know. And so I think whitetails are so skittish because their life depends on their paranoia, if you will. So
you think if I was hunting blacktail in Washington,
same thing? I think it would be the same thing.
They'd be a lot more skittish as opposed to just
Zach, what do you think?
Hanging out.
No, I feel the same way. Like if you're in that predator mode, they're gonna be gone.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about that because I think that's a cool thing. We're already an hour and a half. Fucking
Are we really?
Time just burns up.
Yeah, bro. Getting into it.
But no, it was funny because I was like, dude, I'll fucking sit there and glass.
Yeah.
And like be very alert, watching my sector, checking my 6, and it's like nothing. And then I'll be like, you know what? I want a fucking grizzly. And I start digging in my bag for a can of chew, and I'm no longer focused on the hunt. And I'm kind of fucking off and pulling my coat out because it's like whatever, right? And then I look up, oh fuck, there's a deer right there.
Right.
And or like, dude, I gotta fucking take a piss. Or it's like anytime I take my focus off of what's going on, and then I get surprised, like, oh fuck, there's a deer. And I was telling Steve this, and he started laughing. He goes, bro, you're becoming a hunter. He goes, because every hunter has learned that. And that's exactly what he said. He goes, when you take your focus off of the hunt,
that's when the
his
deer
theory,
show up.
and your friend, whoever that said,
Steve Getter.
just said, hey, instead of being like an apex predator looking for your next kill, just get up in the stand, put it in neutral, and kick back.
Yes.
And wait for nature to take its course.
Yes.
And it's an energy thing.
It is, dude.
That's exactly how I got my doe last night.
You guys keep talking. I'm
with
gonna go
that.
hit the outside.
Okay, yeah.
I was able to just be sitting there, basically just put it in neutral. Kind of was looking at my phone like an idiot, but turns out it worked. I was just not even focused on the hunt whatsoever. And I'm like, there's probably just squirrels making noise because, man, those squirrels just won't stop just tussling around, chasing each other in the forest.
And the squirrels are the loudest animals in the forest, by the way.
100%. And I don't know how the deer differentiate between a squirrel or a human walking through the forest because it's damn near the same thing. But I was just kind of just relaxed on my phone, not really paying attention. Didn't think anything was going to come by around this time. And I hear a crunch. And I'm like, it doesn't sound like a squirrel. I set my phone down, and about a minute later, that thing walked out in front of me. I'm like, oh, well, we better get ready. I was like, oh, well, it's a doe. I don't know if I'm going to take it. And I still wasn't in my predator mode. I was ready to just kind of let it walk by, see if anything was following it, like a nice buck, just because this time of year, the bucks are really trying to pin down the does. And I was like, all right, well, it's right under my stand. If I don't take this and nothing comes behind it, I'm going to be disappointed in myself. So I put it on it and shot it right through, almost spined it just because it was right below me, but clipped a lung, and it just went about not even 20 yards from where I shot it, and tumbled, tried to get up and tumbled again, and was dead within 15 seconds of the shot, which was pretty cool.
Dude, it's awesome, man. And that's, there's no phone service in the cabin. So when you're up on the ridge line, you can actually get some bars, and it's like, oh, I should probably check my text messages, check in with the wife, check my email. And you're right, dude. Staring at your phone, fucking deer walks out. Another thing that Slabby said, he goes, when a buck is walking in and I'm all like trying to be quiet and just trying to be obviously not alert the buck that you're in a fucking tree stand, he goes, dude, you got to be so fucking like precise and with your movements and slow and quiet. He goes, but the second I make the conscious decision, like, you know what, that's a little forkhorn, I'm not going to take him.
Yeah.
And as soon as I make the decision that I'm not going to shoot this deer, it's like it becomes a pet.
Yeah.
And just starts circling the tree and licking shit. And it's like, whereas every other time when you're in that mode that you might take the shot, it's like your fucking stand just creaks and poof, they're gone, dude.
They can sense it.
Yeah, dude.
They can totally sense it.
Maybe
I'm a believer.
Maybe the deer can asteroidal project.
I think they can. I've actually seen that. No, it's I think we talked about the first couple of years you guys came out. Like, this is a lived experience. If you make eye contact with those deer, you are absolutely going to get busted, man.
Well, think about predators. Predators have their eyes in the front.
Yes, dude. They can see your retinas. I guarantee you. They can see some sort of reflection of something in your eyes. So, yeah. I mean, I've sat in enough tree stands. I've had enough deer come in on me close. And if you freaking make eye contact with them, you are screwed.
Dude, it's funny you say that because, like, again, that might not sound like a profound piece of knowledge, but it's one more little piece that I've gleaned from you guys. And it's like, I'll hold my bow up and I'll kind of like dip my head and try and hide my eyes behind my cams.
Yep.
So it doesn't have that direct line of sight to my eyes.
Absolutely, dude. It works.
That's smart from you, because I actually have had experiences like that where I'm like, oh, they can see my eyes, and I'll close my eyes and just listen. And I'll open them back up, and I'm like, where'd it go?
Yeah.
But, so probably not the best decision, but it's like I'm trying to squint, and then I'm like, all right, I'm going to just settle down, close them all the way, and I look up, and usually they're still there, but I've had a couple times where I'm like, where'd that thing go?
And you want to take it a step further into the spiritual fucking woo-woo side of hunting. Mm-hmm. There's a part of me that's like, I don't know if I want to say everything is predetermined or not, but I'm like, if the universe is not going to give me what I want, it's going to give me what I need.
Yeah.
And the success or the failure of this hunt is what I need.
Yeah.
And so instead of being too bummed out about it, it's just like, I'm going to get what I need out of being here, regardless of what that is. Mm-hmm. It's part of a bigger plan. Mm-hmm. And I just have to understand and accept that I'm part of this cycle that's going on out here. Mm-hmm. And,
you got to get into the cycle.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think human beings, though, we just attach a higher importance to ourselves because we have iPhones and we can fucking fly on planes and shit. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, we walk out into that woods, we are immersing ourselves into the cycle of life, and we don't always have a say in how that goes. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you get eaten by a fucking grizzly bear and have to shoot it off you and shoot your own leg on accident. You see that video?
No.
You didn't see that? Went viral like a month ago.
Where was this at?
Do you remember where that was at?
I can't remember the state, but he got ran up on by a grizzly,
and it jumped on him.
Falling backwards as he was shooting it, and he put one right through the top of his thigh.
There were two young dudes not far from Rancher's place that got attacked not like a month ago.
It was a father and son team.
Okay. I actually did. Actually, you know what? I did see that.
And the bear jumped on the son.
That's right. Yes, I did see that. Yeah.
And bro, I mean, if you shoot yourself, I usually talk shit to you. But if you're getting mauled by a grizzly bear and accidentally shoot yourself, and still killed the bear,
that's pretty badass.
You're a fucking stud.
You are a fucking savage.
So if anyone knows that guy, get him in contact with me. I want him to come on the podcast and tell that story.
Because I think it got a hold of his foot too. I don't remember perfectly what the story was, but I think it was so close where it had a hold of his legs.
Dude, we can't even really conceptualize what the power, the amount of power that animal can generate, and how fast it could just fucking rip you in half, dude.
No.
Like, I never forget it, because when Reagan, my middle daughter, got a kitten, and it's like, oh, look at this cute little kitten. It wasn't a cute little kitten. It was fucking feral, dude. And you pick that thing up, and it's just like, and we got fucking nabbed walking out in front of a pet store, a box of kittens. Hey, you want a kitten?
Oh, yeah.
Bro, you pick that thing up, and it didn't want to be picked up. It fucked you up. It would like
scratching.
It would grab a hold of me with its front claws, and then its back feet would just go.
Dude, that's how they kill their prey.
I'm fucking bleeding everywhere, and I'm like, dude, if a 6-pound cat can do this to me, there's nothing.
Lion or grizzly bear. Yeah.
And that's my favorite part about hunting out west, and it might make me sound crazy, but it's like, oh, you're hunting, but you're also being hunted. And it's a wild feeling. Like,
bro,
I agree, Zach. I agree.
I've come across a grizzly in southeast Alaska, and I was a 14-year-old boy, and all I had on me was a 22 pistol, which is the equivalent of having nothing on me
Right.
against a grizzly.
Right.
And
unless you just put it right in the eye and still you're screwed.
good luck, dude.
Yeah.
It's fucking
You
scary.
piss it off even more.
Dude, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a pussy, dude, because I watch those like wildlife photographers like walking up on grizzly bears and shit while they're catching salmon. And maybe while they're eating salmon, they're happy
fed,
and they're content.
Yeah.
But it's like, dude,
Not a pissed off boar, though.
that fucking thing is the apex predator of North
100%.
America.
Absolutely.
It's not your fucking friend.
No.
Well, dude, speaking of bears not being your friend, there's another video going around where a guy gets out of his car and he's like throwing crackers to a grizzly and it fucking jumped on him.
You know what that's called?
Darwinism.
Natural selection.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like,
Thank you,
dude,
Zach. Well done.
Well, Rogan talks about it all the time, and I'm gonna fuck the word
Stupid
up.
is asteroidal projection.
No, say it. Do you know what word I'm trying to spit out?
No.
Amphithem. Ah, fuck. I can think it in my head.
Anthropomology?
Ampliformation or something.
Okay.
What it's doing is it's attaching human qualities to animals.
Oh, that's
and it said
yes.
it's a result of Disney and Yogi
Yes,
the Bear
yes,
and all
yes.
these like, oh no, like boo boo,
Right.
like the bear's your friends. It's like, no, the bear is something that just wants to eat flesh.
It looks at you as food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it's hungry and you're a viable meal, goodbye.
Correct.
And that's not a dig at the bear. That's the world we live in.
When I go to the mountains to hunt elk, I accept my death.
Oh, I like that,
The
dude.
first day. Like, there are mountain lions here. There aren't grizzlies in Colorado, but there are black bears.
I thought there was grizzlies in
I
Colorado.
don't believe there are. I don't believe. Somebody can fact check me, but I am under the impression that there aren't. Point being, locals have told us when we're out there, you're never. How does it say that? You are never more than a quarter mile away from a mountain lion. Every moment you're out in these mountains.
Yeah, and you
dude-
never see one.
Correct. And from what I understand,
Well,
from mountain
Unless you're
lions-
Zach.
unless you're
Because
Zach,
he
then you
sees
get
it.
to
He
shoot
sees
him.
everything, dude.
Yeah, he's Neo of the wilderness. But like, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna sit around and like worry about a mountain lion like watching me.
Yeah.
It's either gonna come and smoke me or not. And so you just go about your day and hunt and try to be as aware and I guess safe and just have a good day.
You know,
But, like,
I've climbed like half the peaks in the North Cascades.
Yeah.
I was like big into that when I was younger. And all the like just alpining out there. Thousands of hours in the woods between hiking and patrolling in the military. I can count on one hand how many bears I've seen. Mm-hmm. And I've never seen a cat.
Slaby's brother, Scott, carries a pistol like most guys do in the woods. And I asked him one time, I'm like, do you carry that for mountain lions and bears? He's like, no, I carry it for two-legged human beings.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm more afraid of who I might run into out here than a grizzly bear or a mountain lion or any other animal. Because the animals,
statistically, he's
just-
correct.
Yeah.
Seriously. I thought it was a very good point. It's just like, not that you want to go out there and like get in a gunfight in the woods. That's not the whole point of that. But like, the critters know where we are well before we know where they are, typically. Unless you're Zach, obviously.
Well, yeah, and they don't want to fuck with you.
No, they just want to be like not messed with, right? They want to be left alone. They're doing their thing. If you pressure them, you're walking around. They smell a human. They hear a human. There are some crazy grizzly bears, I think, that are angry and mean, and they attack humans, right?
Yeah.
Not that they're like the villain. They're just out there living their life, but
Hungry.
they're hungry.
Hungry
They're just
and
doing their
fucking-
thing. They're apex.
Well, another thing about grizzlies, I think I've told you this before, is has Slabby ever mounted grizzlies? Probably not.
I
here.
don't think so. No.
So, growing up, I spent the summers in Southeast Alaska. One of my dad's buddies was a taxidermist. He said every grizzly mount he's done had small caliber pistol rounds lodged in it
Oh
somewhere.
my gosh, that's amazing.
And so he's like, his theory is like, yeah, of course they hate humans.
They get shot at.
Humans do fucked up shit to
Yeah.
them and put 9mm in
Yeah.
their skull.
I would hate me
and just,
too.
it just gives them a fucking headache and doesn't do anything. But fuck, man.
Does your dad have? Is there a Dana Anderson quote out there on like how to survive that, like in the Alaska wilderness?
I can't. I don't censor speech on my podcast.
Yeah.
But if I start quoting my dad on my podcast,
we're gonna go to a whole other.
I'm gonna get pulled from every platform there is.
And we kind of touched on it the first year. Like the first year you guys were here was 2021, right? October of 21, and we had lost my dad in 2020, and I don't. What year did your father pass away?
2015.
2015. Okay. But I just always love to talk about our dads and honor them and remember those funny stories and stuff that we grew
threw
up
around
with.
dad quotes all week, man. It feels good.
It does, and honestly, like it's really part of what we're all doing here at camp, because we wouldn't be here doing this if our dads didn't take us duck hunting and deer hunting and fishing and all these things that they brought us. They were our mentors to bring us to this point of where we are, to give us the passion and expose us to this. And that's what we're trying to do with young guys like Zach and my daughter Addison and all the other folks out there that are trying to mentor their kids or other hunters and people. And I think that is a very, 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 very serious thing that every hunter should do. And that's why I like having you guys here, honestly.
You know what else every hunter should do?
What?
After they lose their dad? Go eat a bunch of mushrooms.
Yeah.
And think about it. Because, bro, I went on a trip one time and I was thinking about dad. And it's like, dude, obviously I'm fucking sad. Me and my dad were close. He was a rad human being. But then the medicine was like, why would you be sad? Just because his physical body's gone, you are literally him.
Yeah.
That's how this game works.
Yes.
You perpetuate yourself through your children. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, not only is he still here, he's literally me.
He's in you.
And he's in me. Yep. And I get to carry that legacy.
100%.
And then it'll be, at some point, it'll be my children's duty to carry the legacy. And that's how it's supposed to work.
Absolutely.
And it's not a sad story.
No.
If your parents create these powerful offspring that continue to fucking pursue the things that are important and the things that bring us joy and all the things that we always talk about, it's like the cycle is happening the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And like, that's not a sad story.
No.
Because really, what's the alternative? There is no alternative. The only alternative to not losing dad is him losing you.
Exactly.
That's it.
Right.
And that's as out of alignment as things can get.
Absolutely.
So it's like, it's okay. It just doesn't feel good because you miss them, and your fucking our human brains like being creatures of habit. But it's like, dude, he came, he did what he needed, he imparted what he needed, and he moved on.
Yeah. And
now it's my turn to do that, and then I'm going to move on. And it's like, and it all happens in the blink of a fucking eye, bro.
Totally. But, whether it's our dads or your brothers and sisters in arms that friends that we've lost, whether they served or not served, it's honoring the memory by sharing a quote and laughing about it, and that keeps them alive.
Yeah,
and
for
that
sure.
keeps them around. And I think that's just such a awesome part of, I don't care if you're hunting, fishing, you can be on a hike, camping with your family. That's what it's all about, is that connection, for sure.
We did mention how I have PTSD from duck hunting as a little boy. Because my dad would just take me out in these blinds, and it's fucking freezing ass cold, and sit there all fucking day. And he's loving it. Yeah. And I'm just like, dude, this is fucking miserable.
It's got a Stanley thermos. Sorry, ladies. Stanley was cool back in the 70s.
And fucking, like, Dad, I can't feel my fingers. You remember the quote?
Oh, yeah.
Well, what do you want me to do? Call mommy? You got cold hands, bro. He used to call me bro. If you got cold hands, bro, what do you want me to do? Call mommy? I'm like, no, I'm just, fuck, man. And he's like, well, piss on him. That's what I do when my hands are cold and I'm in a duck blind. Piss on them and warm them up. And like, for you guys listening, that's real. 15-second interaction with my father kind of describes my entire childhood, dude. Dude, the thing is, too, like, a lot of people.
Did you think about that when you were going through like RIP and stuff?
Here's the thing, bro. Here's the thing. Like,
piss on your hands.
The way that my dad problem solved with me didn't feel strange.
Yeah.
Because that was my fucking childhood.
Yeah.
Like, I remember I got bullied at the bus stop. And I came home and told my parents, and he started laughing. He goes, what do you want me to do, fight an 8-year-old? He goes, Jesus Christ, bro. Go out there and punch him in the fucking nose. Don't come home and complain to me about it. And it was comical to him. Bro, but that's good, though.
Yes, I'm laughing because it's like all of our childhood.
What do you want me to do, fight an 8-year-old for you? And it's like... It's such a simple statement, but there's so much truth behind it.
Yeah, dude.
Because if you don't like getting bullied, then fucking do something about it. And if you're not going to do something about it, don't come crying to me about it.
Yep.
And it's like, a lot of people think that that's harsh, right?
Oh, yeah.
And Zach, you remember this story when you were a little boy. Zach came to me and said the same thing. There was a boy at school that was being mean to him. And I said, Zach, we train jiu-jitsu every night. We don't train jiu-jitsu every night to let people disrespect us. I said, so the next time he wants some, say, you know what, dude, I'm right here. And if you want to get down, then let's fucking go. Mm-hmm. And then I told his mom that. I was like, fuck, because I wasn't really close with their family yet. And I was like, I just told one of my jiu-jitsu students to strangle a kid at school tomorrow. Should probably give his mom a heads up. And so I text his mom and just gave her a heads up. And she goes, we need to go to the principal. Like, we need to talk to the school about this. And I said, if you go to the school about this, it makes him look weak. Mm-hmm. Doesn't make him look strong. Mm-mm. And sure as shit, when Zach just decided to say, hey, you know what, dude? I'm fucking done with your bullshit. The kid didn't want to bully him anymore.
Right.
And, bro, that's simple.
Shocker.
That's simple human interactions that you need to learn. But when you nerf all the edges and you try and overprotect everyone, it actually stifles growth. Mm-hmm. That's why half the men in our country are pussies right now. And it was fucking... Jocko said it. It's like, dude, do we need to bring bullying back? Because there's some good that comes out of it. And it's like, no one wants a kid that's at school making other little kids feel like shit, right? No. Because the truth of the kid that's doing that, he probably has a lot of problems at home, doesn't feel worth, doesn't feel love. He's projecting, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, those are lessons that other kids can actually grow from, and it's not by running into the recess teacher.
Yeah.
It's by fucking that kid up. Everybody involved learns a lesson when that bully gets his ass kicked, dude.
I'm just breathing heavy.
Because I'm getting fired up.
No, not at all. I'm just, I love the fired up. It's just such a logical way of life, and we've just gotten so far away from allowing... Just like these deer out on the ridge, living their life like they're meant to be lived as the species they are. We are not meant to be.
I've heard
manipulated in that direction.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard that if boys get in fights at school, the police are called now.
Oh, I believe it,
bro. When I was in high school,
I just saw that bar scrap when I was coming home last night in lacrosse.
When I was in high school, one of the football coaches would literally say, come down to the boys. We had 2 locker rooms in Snohomish. We had the regular locker room and the wrestler's locker room. If you were a wrestler or a football player, you could have a locker in the wrestler's locker room. And one of the coaches would be, come down to the wrestler's locker room and figure it out. And guys would go down there, fight each other. And then I remember Coach Utt pulled one of my buddies off of another kid and goes, that's enough. Get to class.
They figured it out.
Imagine that, dude. Let boys fucking settle their shit like little boys do, and then go to class.
Exactly.
What the fuck do the cops need to come for that?
Right.
We're just in weird times. But this is a hunting podcast. All my other podcasts are going on about the fucking shortcomings of society.
Like Panera Bread and hand sanitizer.
Fuck.
Dude, so I'm going to say this, and we're going to wrap it up pretty quick because we're going to go get dinner.
Yep.
I walked into my favorite hunting cabin on planet Earth, and there's an economy-size fucking hand sanitizer on the counter. And in that moment, I thought, is my relationship with Chad Depauw
over?
About to fucking come crumbling, toppling down.
Was there anything I did to redeem myself from that?
That's the jury's still out on that one, dude.
But you do like Clorox wipes.
So I do like Clorox wipes for equipment.
Yeah.
I don't need to fucking disinfect my body all the time.
By the way, before we get to some conclusions here, one of my favorite rancher quotes that he talks about his dad, he says that his father says to him, just do your best, son. That'll be poor enough. So that's a quote that gets thrown around quite frequently in our communications.
Just do your
with the
best,
boys.
son. That'll be poor enough.
That'll be poor enough.
Oh, crap.
Oh, crap. Rancher, we love you, brother. I'll tell you, that kid, that Wyoming boy, he grew up just doing his best, and his old man said that'll be poor enough. So that's why Rancher strives for excellence.
I'll tell you what, dude. If his accomplishments were poor enough,
that's pretty damn amazing.
Pretty damn amazing, dude. Fucking dude's done it all.
I'll tell you what. I just do want to say something about all that. All of it. The time with you guys at the wedding and here in the last 3 years. None of it would exist without those boys, without the Rancher Man and Ziggy. I'm a civilian asshole, as Mike Ritland likes to say, and I just appreciate the hell out of the veterans and all the guys. I'm very blessed and lucky to have had a couple of guys that I grew up with as friends, lifelong friends, that have led me to some appreciation and perspective of guys like you. And part of the reason that I'm open for having people to come and hunt and hang out with us, but veterans in my heart, and you are a veteran, and that wasn't the reason why you came, obviously, but we talked about it when you came the first year. We got a flag right there. We've got Tom's hat there from Eagles and Angels in North Carolina.
Yeah. And
all those people in the network of folks that you're connected with, that we've talked about, offline. I just have the utmost respect and love and admiration for those human beings, guys and gals. And I hope that this cabin represents, our appreciation here in Wisconsin of you guys and those people. And it's not lost here at this camp ever, of what we get to do and why.
Yeah.
And you and I have talked about that deeply here.
Well, thank you for saying that, and I appreciate hearing that, because it's...
You have a great platform, dude, and I just want my voice to project out to your people that this isn't... I don't take this for granted, being friends with you through other people that have done some amazing things. I'm just a humble little guy here in Southwest Wisconsin that wants to branch out and connect with people and give back to the people that have given us all these opportunities. So.
Oh, fuck, man. I really appreciate that. You should start a podcast because you have a way with words. I was feeling that as you were saying it, right? And that's how it should feel like. Yeah. It's a powerful message. And it's, I go down rabbit holes on military service and all this stuff, and it's like, we don't need to talk about like the politics behind it and all that, because in my opinion, it's a moot point. Mm-hmm. It's still men and women that love their country that raise their right hand and say, hey, I'll do what's asked when I'm called upon. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of honor in that, mm-hmm. And it's, and in full disclosure, I'm telling some young people, maybe sit out for a little bit and watch the political landscape kind of transpire and see what happens, because we're in a weird time. But at the end of the day, if we don't have people that are willing to stand up for our rights and our beliefs, it's like we know where that leads.
Yeah.
Yeah. But let me say this too, because I think this is an important thing, and I'll close with this, is because I have a lot of young men that are like, man, I want to serve in the military right now, but it's kind of weird times in our country, and I don't know like what it's really going to look like, and there's just some hesitation around it, and I understand that, and I actually see why people are coming to that conclusion. So just remember, you can serve your community, you can love your people, you can build people up, you can be a protector, you can be a leader, you can do all those things outside of military service as well. So don't think because you didn't follow through with that, or you never got to experience that you're somehow diminished or you're less than. Because that's also not true. Right. I hear that from a lot of people. Like, man, I wish I served, but...
I just said it to you the other night.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, you are providing immense amounts of value to people, more than you probably understand, and it doesn't have anything to do with deploying to Iraq. And while I'm appreciative of hearing that, because I know you're sincere, and I know that it means a lot to you that a lot of your friends did go over there and serve. If that's not your path, it's not your path, and that's okay too, Right.
No, I think that's a very good point, and well taken. I hope a lot of other people that haven't take it that way. But I mean, I feel like the fact that podcasts exist and all you guys have had platforms, you and Andy Stump and Glover and all these people, Mike Ritland, for people who grew up with you guys, along with you, Gen Xers, it's a great privilege to be able to sit and listen to your guys' stories.
Yeah.
And I think actually it's way more important, other than me, for our kids to be able to listen to these platforms and these conversations, because it will be lost in history other than these podcasts. And I think that everybody sharing that is very, very important for Zach and Addison and Piper and all these kids out there in the future to be able to tap into these podcasts. And I'm getting a little choked up because
no, dude, it's good.
It's just so near and dear to my heart. I thank the Lord every day that the guys that I know made it through, and you made it through, and people didn't get blown up, and there's a lot of people that did. But those are my brothers, and I love them to death. And we're all here because of them, you know. And it's I don't know how else to honor it, man, other than just having you guys out here and enjoying hunts and doing that.
I don't think that there's a better way that you could. And so, again, thank you for that. Thank you for hosting this.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking me and Z under your wing and imparting your knowledge on us, sharing your passion, teaching us, sharing your land. Like, you say that that's not lost on you, and it's also not lost on us, is that, like, without these types of experiences, money can't buy these types of experiences. It really can't, you know? And so it's, you know, we're all supporting each other in the way we're supposed to.
Yeah, I'm glad to be a part of it,
just
man.
like I said with the deer that walks in front of your stand, it's all working out the exact way it's supposed to.
Well said, Greg Anderson.
Is that a wrap?
That is a wrap.
All
Thank
right.
you guys for coming out again this year.